Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. You are quite on a windy roof today. We had some nice rains this week. And even now the sky is dark and it's windy. So let's see how it goes. Just a quarter of an hour ago, it winded so strongly, I had to come up and close the computer. But now it seems it's going to work out. We cannot overemphasize the importance that we learn to recognize how strong we are, that we have faith, that we are capable of dealing with whatever situation is coming. At this time of stress and tension and fear and insecurity, it is so important to remind oneself, something in me cannot be touched. Let me make that my home, my base from where I'm functioning, from where I'm perceiving, from where I'm thinking and feeling. And if we do so, then we always will be capable of somehow dealing with the situation. And the fear goes, the apprehension goes, the insecurity goes. The more we remind ourselves, the stronger we become. The potential is there, but the capacity to tap into it is increasing. That presence, that sense of presence, that is always there, that is first, no matter what is happening, there is at the base that sense of presence that is not touched. All that is appearance comes and goes and changes all the time, but that sense of presence is there, immovable. There is our strength, there is our potential. That's our real home. Here, now. There is also no feeling of loneliness because it's clear all is connected. Many times when people ask Ramana Maharshi a question, he asks them back, who is asking the question? So instead of getting into the discussion, he just caught their attention and brought it right back. That sense of presence. He could do so because it was not an intellectual game, but with his powerful presence. And then him telling like this to people help them to just redirect the attention and come back to that base, to that source. Now many of the modern Advaita teachers, they are using this often excuse to escape a question. Who is asking the question? But then it becomes an intellectual game. It's not the same. With Ramana Maharshi, it was just some powerful means to catch the questioner's attention and help him at that moment to consciously connect. Oh, I am. Who am I? I am. For him, there was not this discussion that often goes on in Advaitic circles about, there is nobody there, and things are just happening. He simply came right to the source. His devotees often they were apprehensive when they were asking a question. Is he going to use his, they called it his Brahmastra, that celestial weapon, that invincible weapon? When he felt it was useful, he would enter the discussion. But often he cut it short. Now, when people imitate that, then usually it does not mean the same thing at all. Because those teachers don't have that presence of Ramana capable of helping people to consciously connect now, timelessly now. But this is our source. This is where our strength lies. When I'm talking to people, when I'm communicating with people from far, I see so much insecurity. That's why I'm emphasizing again, it's so important in this time, especially in this time, to bring the attention back to that sense of presence, become aware how untouchable it is, and develop that faith in one's own strength, in one's own potential. If we are aware that there is that aspect where we really are at home, that cannot be touched, there is no need of fear, there is no need of apprehension, there is no need of insecurity. We may be very insecure about what is going to happen, so what? If that awareness is there, but no matter what comes, this essential, basic sense of presence cannot be touched, then we need not worry about it. It's a strange time. It's a powerful time, but it's also a great opportunity, especially because there are so strong energies loose working that we can make use of that intensity to just with simply reminding ourselves again and again, go very deep, go very far. It's a strange time, but it's at the same time a great opportunity. Let's make use of it to the fullest. Not become again tense about that. Oh, I have to make use of it. And new worry that maybe I'm not making properly use of it, but no, just remember, it's good to remind myself. When I see how I'm getting absorbed into the little things that are happening, when I see how I'm getting absorbed in apprehension about how things are going to turn out, what's going to happen in my personal life, what's going to happen in the world, instead of feeding these worries, that we remind ourselves, come on, bring the attention back home, here, now. Dive in that sense of presence and relax. And then we can go about the whole story playfully, even now, no matter what is happening. Okay, my friends, I stop talking just for myself, by myself. It's not only for myself. And I'm asking you, is there anyone who would like to comment? Come in. You're welcome to do so. Seems not quite the moment. Somebody wants to come. All right, I'm going again, once again, more into the detail. But how are we doing that? I said, just bring the attention home. I mentioned Ramana Maharshi, how we helped people immediately to connect. And to many people, he said to practice like this. When the mind is going out asking, who is thinking? Not as an intellectual question, simply to catch the attention and bring it back home to that pure I. I. Who am I? I am. We can combine this with breathing consciously. It's very subtle to just, with the simple thought, to turn the attention and then stay. The tendency of the mind is to immediately start thinking again, maybe start to argue about what I'm doing and not doing. Is it good? Is it not good? Am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? So we can also combine it with consciously breathing. Breathe in with the question, but who is thinking? Without I. But who? Without I. I am. That helps to get less tempted to immediately start again an intellectual story about it. Or simply being sucked in whatever we have been busy with before, something that worries us. One can also simply do it by consciously breathing. If we really bring the attention to the breath, feel the breath, feel the body, then we are connecting with that which makes the experience possible. This is that same sense of presence. It's only now. It's not something that will happen, that has happened. It is now. Consciously breathe in, breathe out, relax. Not half asleep, consciously, alert. It's basically so simple to catch the attention and bring it back home. It's not so easy to stay there because the habit is so strong to bring it home and off it goes. Then we just start again. Mantra japa is also a very good way to quieten the mind, to help to detach from the worries. If somebody does mantra all the time, then it has the tendency to become so automatic and mechanical that after that, simultaneously with the repetition of the mantra, the mind is still wandering around everywhere. So even when one is doing mantra japa, it's also good to remind, to be conscious, to do it consciously. But if one does mantra japa consciously, it's certainly also a very valid way to bring the attention back to that essence. Nisargadatta Maharaj, who was that very strong Advaita teacher, he had great respect for mantra japa. He was also connected to a Siddha line, and usually the disciple was initiated in their mantra they were using on that Siddha line. And although he was always telling people, hold on to that sense of I am, be conscious, be alert. He did also give mantras. It's not written in the book, but you can find him sometimes talking about it. He even goes, he even goes so far to say, if one could teach a donkey to repeat the mantra, and if the donkey keeps on repeating that mantra slowly, its spirit, its mind will purify and become clearer, and that donkey could attain self-realization. Of course, that was Maharaj's joking way of talking, but simply he expressed how much respect he had also for that approach. It doesn't matter how we are connecting. What matters is the sincerity, how we are going about it. Whether it's more with jnana, whether it's more with yoga, whether it's more with devotion, or a combination of the three. It's worth the trouble. This is really the one job that is most beneficial to do. People often are insecure. What should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? How can I be somehow useful in the world? How can I choose my life that it is really fulfilling? All these external choices, they come second. The one job that is the most important is really to learn to catch our attention and bring it back consciously connect, learn to get rooted in that, make that our base. And then playfully we can go about our role that we are playing in the world. And then the simplest job may be perfectly fine. And need not all have very complicated jobs. If somebody is doing a very simple job but is connected, then no matter where they are, what they are doing, they are radiating something very beautiful. Their own life is happy and they're radiating something very beneficial to all those around. Okay, my friends, I'm asking again, is there anyone who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dayal.
Just a second. You was talking right now about mantras, and I remind a teacher, Buddhist teacher, some Buddhist teachers, they also using mantras and
Yes.
giving mantras for the beginning, but then they make a difference that mantras and uh, visualizations, some imaginary object of meditation, it's working differently that a real object of meditation.
Mm.
And a real object of meditation they call our body. All the other things, it's imaginary mantras and um, other things, even respiration. If we concentrating on the breathing in and breathing out, it's also kind of working with ideas. But real work is sensation. What is happening when the breathing goes in and goes out?
Yes.
So can you comment this difference between real objects and imaginary objects of
Yes.
meditation?
I know that some teachers talk like this and say all the other approaches, they are not equally valid because you are not going to the root of the tensions and whatever is coming up. That you are simply numbing the mind with your mantra instead of going to the root of it. This is not true. It's just that that teacher had the experience with that approach and that appeared to him so totally supreme that somehow he couldn't have that broad-heartedness to understand you can come to the same in a very different way. What is imaginary? What is not imaginary? Even the breath going in and out is imaginary, he says. But the body sensations are not. Well, you can say this whole human life is just a dream-like appearance. It's also imaginary. And then we are identifying with that dream, and so the experience becomes real. But if somebody does visualization and in that way facilitates that connection to that divine essence, then even if that visualization is something that the sadhak is producing, if it is a conduct, uh, if through that he can connect with the divine essence, then who cares about whether that image was real or was not real? The, the point is that it helps the sadhak to connect with that same essence, and that is that same essence that makes your experience possible of your body sensations. So this evaluation of higher practice or lower practice is something that is, although some people, some teachers may have really gotten far with their own technique, somehow then there is still that human thing sticking in their mind that this is better than others. And this is simply not necessary. What matters, whether an approach is effective or not, is entirely the sincerity with which the one who is practicing is going about it. And if somebody, for somebody that is natural to do a mantra with or without visualization, and through that mantra opens the heart more and more to that divine presence, then this is a perfect approach, as good as any other approaches.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you very much.
It's not that I'm saying that approach that that teacher says is the best is less good than any other. What I'm simply saying, it's wrong to make such evaluations at all. It depends entirely the sincerity with which we are using an approach, and then that helps us to more or less quickly, consciously connect and go deeper. And it can be anything.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Werner. Thank you. Hariom.
Hario, Hario. I saw when Dial come in, another camera was opening.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Andreas.
Is there any difference between the method, the practice you're talking about of like becoming aware of the essence and Buddhist mindfulness practice?
No, it's just another way of saying the same thing.
Okay. Because when I try to be mindful, I always was like kind of focusing on some object or
Right.
some sensations, and
so it's not basically a difference in the approach, but of course, but you can, in your approach of being mindful, get a bit stuck on the external objects. Being very mindful, now this is happening, now I'm seeing this is passing by, now I'm feeling this, and being a bit stuck. But actually, if you are really practice that mindfulness, then slowly the attention should shift and not so much be fixed on the objects, but on that which is perceiving, that which makes the experience possible. The goal of the mindfulness is not to be just super alert and capable of always knowing every damn detail that goes on and be totally aware of every little thing that I have done like this and like that. But it is, the point of it is that we are alert to become aware, there is that base. No matter what is happening, how things are changing all the time, there is that base, and that makes the experience possible.
can you overlook that?
We can, of course, be a bit fixed on the object of perception. And then it's still a good concentration exercise to be mindful and to feel exactly now how I'm walking, how I'm putting one leg in front of the other, hearing what is going on, seeing what is going on, being mindful in the present moment is certainly a good exercise, but we can get a bit stuck with the attention on the object of perception instead of slowly turning the attention to the one, to that which is perceiving, that which makes the perception possible.
is this some kind of opening up too, or is it just a redirection?
It's, you can call it this way or that way, it's the same. Instead, then, with the mindfulness being fixed simply on the object of perception, just open up. You can say so. Or redirect the attention to the source. It's the same, that opening, that redirecting.
Yeah.
Becoming aware of that which makes the experience possible.
I'm never sure if I do it right or not. That's the mind coming in then.
Right, and you can, when you see that these doubts are coming, then you can objectify the doubts and see, ah, there it comes again, comes to disturb me, comes to sabotage me, because that's what I'm trying to tell. It's not really a right or a wrong way to go about it. It's simply, if we keep that alertness and think with the attention back in that, what I call that sense of presence, then there is not a right or a wrong way to go about it. But it's a trick of the personality then to cause problems, not to let go. That maybe it's not quite right that I'm doing it. Maybe because of that I'm not getting anywhere. maybe. And when you catch yourself, then you say, that's that old habit. I see you. Just do it as you do it, consciously conscious, and you will connect with that essence.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Ravi.
It's so pain. I've had a lot of physical pain in my body lately.
Yeah.
And I think I've become quite... I don't think I've got a very good relationship with pain at the moment. Maybe I've become a little bit too aware of the pain in my body, which might be bringing more pain into my body, I don't know, or making the pain stick around. Or could you talk a little bit about the best relationship to have with physical pain?
Usually the first reaction is totally a block, a resistance to the fact that the experience is as it is. Pain comes of, I don't like pain, so I'm resisting to the fact that there is pain. And unfortunately, doing so has the tendency to make the pain worse and stick around, and we feed whatever it is that has caused the pain. When we can get around of accepting, okay, there is that experience of pain. It's there. It's simply a fact, like it or not right now, the pain is there. If we not resist to the fact, then we can slowly more and more objectify the pain. And instead of resisting and get all tense, learn to relax, and then we are less affected by the pain, and incidentally, we give it the best chance to pass, to heal, whatever brings the pain about. It's not a guarantee that the pain quickly goes. Sometimes there is old, heavy stuff that is manifesting and may take a long time until it's really gone. But at least in that way, every time we deal with pain like this, we help, we give the possibility that whatever is causing that pain has a chance to somehow get healed or to get exhausted out of the system, and the pain may pass smoother and quicker.
Okay.
Of course, if the pain is there all the time, it's not easy to keep up that attitude. It's, I know, pain that sticks around and on and on and on, then at a certain point one has just a bit reached the limit of dealing with it. And I mean, if it's necessary, there's also nothing wrong. Sometimes taking painkillers to ease it up, to have a break. But it's best not to get addicted to painkillers and try to push it away all the time, but rather, as good as we can, accept the fact that it's there and learn to detach and relax in the pain. And then whatever pain is there is already easier to bear, and it gives it the chance to go quicker.
And when you say relax in the pain, that doesn't necessarily mean that my attention should go to where the pain is and relax there, but just I can relax within myself.
Right.
What do you mean?
I mean, relax generally. On the physical level, you need not go and fix your attention in that center of pain and think you should now go in and relax that, but rather go in a moment and then rather feel the rest of the body and relax the rest of the body that is not paining. Relax your feet and legs and arms and shoulders, and then slowly that place where the pain is really centered has the tendency also to relax more physically. And in physically relaxing, we help to relax energetically and mentally. And the tension that usually comes with the resistance to pain is physical, it's energetic, and it's mental, and it's intellectual. And so if we start to relax on the physical level, but exactly not desperately try to go in the center of pain and relax that, but relax the rest. And then that also can more relax. Then energetically also we relax more, and mentally, intellectually, we also relax more. And in that relaxation, the whole experience is already very different.
I noticed before, just as a slightly different subject, that I was feeling quite, I was breathing a little bit and feeling a little bit blissful, feeling it more connected. And then I noticed that part of my body was I was still holding on. And I guess, which surprised me, because I thought I was feeling very relaxed. And I'm wondering if one can still feel relaxed and hold some tension in the body. So I'm wondering if my experience was real of feeling relaxed, or if I was just telling myself I was feeling blissful, whereas I wasn't, because I was still holding on to some tension.
Sure, it's possible. I mean, even if we give the impulse to relax and we start to relax and we feel quite relaxed, then we cannot do it that we just completely relax. We can give the impulse and relax as good as we can. And you can feel quite blissful and relatively relaxed and become aware, but there are still tensions there. We can relax some more. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. And one last thing. I think I understand. hold on, I'm trying to choose my question actually. Yeah, I guess I've got a couple of questions, but we'll see how much time it takes. And I don't know if I'll be able to phrase this question very well. I'm not, but I read a card and I pulled out an card. She's got different sayings. And one of the saying was that life is not a right, it's a gift. And I contemplated that and thought, just feel grateful for everything in one's life, to feel blessed. And then I noticed that wherever I looked, I felt a sense of reverence. It wasn't just feeling as I might feel in Amma's presence or in looking at a tree. I could look at I've been practicing this, looking at a photo or a pen or something as I pick it up. And I don't know what my question is. And I also became aware that that feeling is within. Sometimes I do that and then it's almost like I was mentally bowing down to it. But it also made me feel very present to my world around me, physically present. And my mantra moved more in the distance. So is that a spiritual practice? I mean,
Sure.
what's happening there? I mean, I feel like, yeah, what is it? Because it's kind of feeling a sense of inner connectedness whilst looking at the external world and feeling love for things around me, even though they're inanimate objects, but somehow I don't fit. Yeah, could you talk a bit about that?
Right. If we are all absorbed in our mind, in our problems, and all tense about it, there is very strong that feeling that I am separate, of being disconnected with life. So feeling grateful, seeing the nice things that are there and feeling grateful is a very wonderful way of opening up that wall that we are creating in the mind by being so concerned about what is happening in our life and whether it's turning this way or that way, but just looking up at nature and see how beautiful and being grateful for that is a very wonderful way of opening up and start to feel connected again. Sure, it's a spiritual practice.
The gratitude also was for things that it wasn't a mental gratitude as in it was a reverence that, like, it wasn't a mental gratitude like, oh, and yet it was for things that I wasn't thinking I'm grateful for that pen, but I would just be it was a presence, being present. Can you explain that? Because it wasn't I'm not just talking about a tree or something like that, or oh, I'm so glad I've got a pen in my life. It's more, yeah.
Right. It's not simply an emotional thing. Maybe if somebody tries to be grateful first, it's an emotional thing, but then through that, exactly that is happening, that you start to feel being connected and connected with that immensity automatically brings that sense of awe, of reverence.
What was the last word?
Of reference, of feeling a sense of reference towards everything that exists.
Yes.
Even if it's not a biological thing. It's still a manifestation, it's still an expression of that same mystery.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly it. And then the mind comes in and goes, this isn't logical. This is not. So yes, thank you. It's, yeah.
Right. Logic doesn't reach there. Logic simply helps us to give the mind a good direction, and very quickly we have to drop the logic and go beyond it.
Is there time for one more question or?
Sure.
So I feel like I understand the concept a bit, but I'd love to hear what you've got to share of taking refuge in the divine. Last week I was struggling. Well, I am struggling with health stuff, and I just thought more of if I just focus on the divine, and if my thoughts are on the divine, then maybe the divine will take care of everything else and of my worries. So I think that's what it's about. But is there anything else you could say about it?
Actually, it's just another way of expressing the same thing that I expressed in the beginning, that we learn to have faith in our own potential. It's the same like having faith in the divine. It's just the first mental attitude, different flavor, but actually it's coming to the same, that we learn to have faith in the essence. And we can call that the self, or we can call that God or the divine. And the more you are capable of doing so, the easier it is to deal with no matter what is happening. It's not always a guarantee that after that everything in your life goes smoothly only. Still there will be challenges, but the capacity to deal with those challenges are very much different. If we are not fixed on the details of the story, but of that which is not changing. And I said there are different ways to connect with that. You can ask, who am I? You can breathe, or you can, as Dale was telling, watch the body sensations, or you can also just open the heart and have faith in the divine. It's actually an equally powerful, beautiful way of connecting with that divine essence. And the more you are capable of doing so, the easier it is to deal with all the problems that come along.
So when you say faith in that,
yeah,
what does faith mean?
Faith means that the growing awareness that there is an aspect that is so totally pristine and utterly unaffected by no matter what is happening. First, we need a little faith to make the first step, to consciously try to open up. If we do that first step, then already we feel something and develop the faith to make the second step. And as we keep going, it's a growing awareness that there is something that is so totally prior to all my problems that I have, to all that can happen in the world, to prior to manifestation itself. And the more that awareness is growing, the more that faith is there, that actually come heaven or hell, that cannot be touched. Nothing can somehow hurt or destroy that.
Yeah, it was another thing I kind of a thought came through my mind in the last week was I thought, because the turbulence and the anxieties around health, and it's the same thing as what you're saying then. The word courage came into my mind, and I said, well, what does courage mean? And the answer that came within was go within and know you're all right. So that's, I guess, what you're saying. That space is free of problems and everything that we get caught up in and identified. And yeah.
Right. The courage means that we have that capacity to continue in spite of difficulties. And the more you are capable of connecting with the essence, the more that courage, that's another aspect of the same, the faith and the courage, the more that courage will grow of going on even if things are not going so easily, even if there are problems.
Thank you, Werner.
You are most welcome. I wish you well. Hario. 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 Is there anybody else who would like to say something? You are welcome to come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
I see that I don't think that I say or ask something new. I just missed you and wanted to come. I go on walking with my tensions and watching them, and I see sometimes them maybe more than before. And when I feel anxious in my head and some worry about something, I feel these tensions in the low part of my body. And even if when I feel some impatience or something like this, I just try to watch. And sometimes it is really funny that I feel so strong tension about not very serious things in my mind. Yeah. It's yes, I see it's still not easy for me to relax. Also, I go on meditation and sit more, but it is still difficult. And but I see that something sometimes helps me when I not in meditation but in my usual life, when I feel these tensions and when I come to gratitude and just gratitude, become gratitude, feel gratitude, yes, for what I have. I feel it helps me to relax, to not to concentrate so much at to stick to my ideas or anxious. And the other thing that I noticed some days before, that helps me when I just begin to wish goodness and peace to people. Just see people and I tell it inside of me that I wish goodness and peace, and immediately it helps me to relax somehow. Maybe not much, but really I feel connection with something that helps me to relax. Yeah. Just wanted to say this.
Yes, very nice. And it goes in the same direction like what Ravi mentioned about that sense of gratefulness has suddenly given him a very different experience. And if you are feeling grateful, just seeing that you are here, that you are conscious, that you are alive, and also for things that are happening in your life, see the positive aspects, and that sense of gratefulness is there. It's like you are radiating something beautiful that connects, and you are inviting more beauty in your life in that way. And also that other aspect you mentioned, that you think of people or maybe meet people and you wish them peace and what did you say? Peace and goodness. Peace and goodness in their life. So it's the me ego personality is usually doing the opposite. It's I want goodness, to hell with them.
Yes, yes. This is what you said. I feel this, just what you said, that my ego becomes smaller when I wish to people this goodness and peace. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the opposite direction, or the opposite flow. That when we are so totally identified and absorbed in our own little bubble, then we are only interested that we can increase a little bit our own good experience, not caring for anything else. And if you consciously can make that step to overcome and sincerely send this kind of vibes out, that you wish them peace and goodness, that means you are opening up and connecting, you feeling the connection that is there. And this immediately gives a greater expansion of your experience and a greater relaxation. Great. Continue like this.
Yeah. Thank you, Werner. Thank you very much.
You're
Hari Om.
welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, Vikas.
Hello, Werner. How are you?
Okay, okay.
Werner, I had this question. Now, for this question, there's a short story which I would like to tell you. So, I came across this story where it is said that Sri Ram and Sita, they have come back to Ayodhya. Like
Yes.
everything is over, and Hanuman is also there. Now, now it's time for Sri Ram to go back. Like he is leaving Earth, and so he wants to get rid of Hanuman. So he gave but Hanuman, being Hanuman, he says that no, I'm going to stay at your feet, so I'm not leaving. So Sri Ram, what he does, he gives him a ring, and he says, okay, take this ring, I'm very happy with you. Now when he gives him the ring falls in a crevasse. There's a crack on the earth, and the ring falls, and so Hanuman has to jump and get that ring. Now when he goes into that crevasse, he goes into Patal Lok, and he keeps looking for that ring. And after some time, he meets somebody there, and that person says that, what are you looking for? So Hanuman says that, I got a ring from Sri Ram, so I'm looking for that ring. So that person says, oh, you are looking for your ring, come, I'll show you the ring. So then he shows him a big hill of rings, and there are so many rings with Sri Ram written on it. So Hanuman says, how will I find it? He says that you have been coming here so many times looking for the ring, and it has been so many times that this story has repeated itself. Now from this comes like our the every 12 months the seasons repeats itself. And I also heard that whatever has happened, like summer, winter, and autumn, everything gets repeated every 12 months. Similarly, what happens in our life gets repeated after 12 years. Like I was thinking, then I found that the kind of mental state or emotional state I was in 12 years back, it was similar what is coming back. So is it possible that everything gets repeated? Is it possible that we were here before, and we are coming here again to have this kind of same kind of experience? You have any thoughts on this?
Well, we need not now go into whether we were here before in previous incarnations or we'll do that again in other incarnations, but we don't need to take the numbers to fixed, like that it's a 12-year cycle and then it's repeating and repeating. But the tendency is there, if we are not conscious, that people very early in life already, the pattern are quite fixed how we are functioning. And then while growing up, if one is not alert, if one doesn't have that openness, it has the tendency that quickly things are just starting to repeat over and over and over again. The external situations are a little bit different, but the way how we are dealing with circumstances becomes such a pattern that totally predictable that if one never stops and has a good look at oneself, then he may just repeat the same stories slightly different over and over until they die. So it's a call to become alert and see, hey, stop and observe how we are functioning. And when we start to observe how we are functioning, we start to become aware, okay, these are patterns. I can see how they grew in my youth when I grew up. And now I have been just letting myself, being pushed by those patterns. And in each new situation, actually, I just repeated the same way, how I dealt with situation, how I reacted emotionally, and it need not be like this. We don't have to go on repeating and accumulate a hill of rings there. We can then, by being alert, by seeing, having an honest, good look at ourselves and seeing how we are functioning, then start to see the tendencies when they are coming before they manifest. And the more you are alert, the earlier you can catch them. And even strong tendencies that we have built up, strong conditionings that are there, and we don't want them anymore because we see they are keeping us in a prison. They are not helping to expand, but rather they keep us, our mind and our experience small. Then we can learn to counteract and let them go and detach from those patterns that we don't repeat over and over and over the same stories. For me, this is the meaning of such stories, that we have a good look at ourselves and see how we have the tendency when we are unconscious to just have our set vasanas there, our set patterns there, and then it just goes on and on and on and on. Same. And most of the people, unfortunately, live like this. They have set up their way of functioning very early in their life, very early in their youth. And after that, it's just a repetition of the same way of dealing with the situation, reacting to the situation, reacting to people, and creating problems for oneself and for the others until they die over and over and over. And we can do differently. We don't have to do so.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Very good.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? Life becomes full of joy and creativity if we learn to live in the present, if we learn to connect with that timelessness. The more our attention is just in the mind, and the mind is always in the past or projecting ideas in the future, the more it's just a totally predictable story that is unrolling itself. There are tendencies there when one is born, And then these tendencies has already set up also the stage where one is born, how one is growing up, what kind of influences are there. And if we are going half asleep through our life, then there is a story very predictable there that is simply unrolling itself. A skilled astrologer may tell already a whole life story that is there as a probability when a child is born. And if that child grows up and never stops, never looks what's going on, never becomes aware how after some time there are just those tendencies, those patterns that immediately react in very predictable ways that push the person around to do things, to say things, to react to emotions, to react to situations, simply because the whole structure has been set in place. But we have the possibility to step out of that mill of just turning round and round, repeating the same patterns over and over and over. The moment we stop, the moment we turn the attention back to ourselves and have a good honest look and just watch what's going on, then there comes a new unpredictable aspect in it. And then the probability that has been there, predictable, as a story that is unrolling itself, already has a new creative aspect in it. And if one learns to do that more and more, then more and more the attention comes back to that pool of creativity that just in a innocent and spontaneous way expresses that inner beauty more and more, then the old predictable story becomes weaker and weaker. And in many cases, many things simply need not manifest because we are not more reinforcing that old pattern that keeps that story going. Strong things in our life may be there and we cannot avoid them. But we can avoid to just react unconsciously pushed by the old patterns. We can learn to deal with situations that are not pleasant and still they come in such a way that we are not reinforcing just that mill that is turning round and round, but actually use them to go that much deeper in our own resources. Use them as challenges to really become self-aware. And if we live like this, then the life becomes spontaneous, creative, beautiful, not more predictable because it simply is a story that is repeating itself, but every moment becomes more and more an expression of our own inner beauty. And the consciousness, the joyousness of it, of living like this, keeps on intensifying and expanding all the time. Does anyone else want to come in and say something? You're welcome. Okay, see, there is not so much eagerness to talk there today. Aha, there comes Andreas again.
Hello. I mean, one of my mental habits is to doubt myself very much. Do you have
Right.
any advice for that?
When you see the doubt, as long as you are not aware that you are doing it, you cannot do anything. But once you become aware, aha, there I'm again there in my old groove, handicapping myself with my doubts, then do it for a moment very consciously. Doubt yourself. But at the same time, you step out of it and watch what it is doing to you physically and energetically. See what kind of funny feelings it produces, what kind of tensions it produces, and learn to detach from that and relax those, and then let go the doubt for that time. If you treat that habit of doubting yourself like this, then each time you do that, that power that is locked in the habit of repeating itself is diminishing. And eventually you can see the habit, the tendency coming. Ah, there it comes again. You say, oh, I see you. I don't let you do your mischiefs anymore.
It makes it very difficult to believe in my own potential. Like you had a talk a few times ago, like we should believe in our own potential, and this is this is difficult.
Sure, it's exactly those self-doubts, those self-handicaps that prevent us from opening up to that. And it's it doesn't work that you try to control yourself and think, okay, when the doubt comes, when this comes, I'm controlling my mind and I'm not going to think like this, and you fight with the tendency to doubt negative, destructive, and you try to forcibly think positive and fight with each other, the two aspects of you, then okay, I see the tendency, but then I look at it clearly and let it happen. Don't push it away. Okay, I let the mind go and tell all these silly things that diminish that connection with that potential. But then at the same time, if you do that so consciously, you see what it is doing. You see what it is doing to you right now, what kind of negative energy it is planting in your system, and how it feels, how unpleasant it feels, how tense it feels. And looking at that and learning to detach and relax, then you are, every time you do that, you're making a step out of being a victim of the habit of being pushed in doing that again and again. And eventually it simply won't come back anymore.
It takes very long.
It may take some time, but then every time you do that, you get already the reward also. Every time you do that, you see, oh, this time it couldn't really get me to that state where it usually got me, the state of feeling impotent, of feeling helpless, hopeless. But there I could step out, and for that moment you already feel a sense of expansion and relief. Didn't get me the way it usually gets me. Then don't worry that, oh, maybe it's still there, and then I haven't really overcome it there. It starts again, self-doubting. Okay, for the time being, I dealt with the situation in a more constructive and more expansive way.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed this a lot because my mindfulness towards my thoughts is increasing, but it's sometimes I just wish that the times would be longer where I just automatically feel okay the way I am. That is like, this is something which is very difficult to bring in.
I mean, it's good to be okay with the way you are, but not in a defeated way. That basically you need not nag at you all the time. You should be different. But if you see tendencies where you see it's just destructive, it's eating up your creativity, it's eating up your life force, there you have the right, you better do something about it. Not because basically you think I'm not a good guy, I should be different, but simply seeing objectively, oh, there is a tendency I can clearly see. It's like a drain of energy, and I don't want to do that anymore. Makes sense.
Yes. My actual problem right now is that I moved and I have my new apartment is full of stuff and I have to make a new organization and I really am bad with that.
I see. You're in a new place.
Yeah, this is like something I try to relate in a different way, but it's, yeah. Patterns seem to repeat themselves.
Yeah. Well, then you have to do one thing after the other. Eventually it's done, huh?
Okay.
Okay. Hariom.
Hariom.
Wish you well.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like right now to come in and say something? Okay, let's then just sit together. Make use of that space that we have created now. And we were connected online. We were also subtly connected. We always are connected. But being then in that same space, subtle space, for the time being, that connection has activated and is stronger. So let's make use of that connection and just sit together, conscious. Let the worries about what is happening next go. Let the worries and the regrets about what has happened before go. Just be here now. Conscious. Consciously conscious. Consciously alive. And relax. There are sensations, there are sounds, thoughts want to come, emotions, they pop up their head. It's all in the story. It comes, it goes. But I am here, now, timeless. It's like I'm sitting at the bank of a river, immovable. All the things, they just flow by. But I am here, now. At ease, at peace. And naturally joyous. Simply by being. Thoughts may come. We just don't get interested. Ah, there comes a thought. Let it come. Let it go. I'm rooted in that immovable ground against which we can see all the movement, all the things that come and go. They're momentarily appearances. And here now, there is life, there is consciousness, there's the beauty, the creativity of existence. Just let go in that beingness. Relax in that simple sense of presence. Here, now, timeless, spaceless. Ever present before time. This is our refuge. This is our strength. Nothing can hurt this. This is our home. And even if we are now going out and are more active again, this immovable space is not changing. We can still be rooted in this and be active, play a role. Let's remember that. I wish you all well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.